Until then, here is a full breakdown with tons of brand new info.
We just had to wait. We just had to wait a couple seconds.
Timon, my man.
Let's go.
Hi everyone, my name is Timon Smektawa and I'm the lead game designer at Techland. Welcome to the Gamescom edition of Dying to Know. You can watch the previous episodes of the show on our YouTube channel. They reveal many details about the game and showcase unique gameplay videos. So if you still haven't seen them, you know what to do. Last time we showed you the monsters, our special infected enemies. So today, let's talk about how to fight them. And not only them, but also the other big threats you will encounter in the world of Dying Light 2, which are us, humans. Unfortunately, humans tend to be the most cruel and brutal species out there, especially during an apocalypse. Before we talk about fighting, let's start with the basics. How do you move around the city? If you watched our previous episodes, you know that a large portion of the city's population has changed into monsters, roaming the streets. That's why it's extremely difficult to move around, unless you can run, climb, brawl, swing and jump, as the best option to explore the world of Dying Light 2 is parkour. Let's talk about it with my first guest, Kacper Kowalczuk, senior game programmer. Kacper, you are in a team directly responsible for creating parkour movement in Dying Light 2. So, what can you tell the Gamescom viewers about it?
Well, we're really excited for the players to see what we've prepared for them. They will finally feel this amazing freedom of movement in a city built to support parkour from the ground up. Even the highest building is not an obstacle anymore, but a parkour tool to help you get higher. Even those familiar with Dying Light 1 will be pleasantly surprised, because we took all that we learned from parkour in DL1 and built everything from scratch. It's a more challenging way than to simply upgrade it, but it's more rewarding as well.
Okay, but from my perspective, and I think your perspective as well, creating a realistic movement in an FPP game is very difficult.
Weird.
And we have spent a lot of time and resources to make it physical and exciting at the same time. So how do you feel about it, Kacper?
We really wanted to improve players' perception of their avatar's body and of what happens to it during parkour. The animators had their hands full, but it definitely makes you feel like a real traceur, which is a person who professionally does parkour. It's all thanks to dozens or even hundreds of new animations. It's especially visible with ropes, pipelines, monkey bars, etc.
Monkey.
With the increased number of animations, players can almost
fuck is that?
physically
Graffiti,
feel
you see
each
that?
movement while climbing the buildings. It gives them a realistic parkour experience and is also surprisingly simple to master, even for beginners. The city allows players to traverse it effectively as soon as they get there, and their mobility increases more as they learn new skills. There comes a time when players start noticing synergies between movements, and that's when the real fun begins. You literally feel like flowing through the environment. They also find out that the city itself helps them with parkouring, and what might have seemed an obstacle at the beginning becomes an asset once they learn how to use it.
Okay, but parkour can be more than just a way to traverse the city. In Dying Light 2, it's quite handy in combat too.
Yes, for example, I could stun my opponent with a powerful blow, then use elements of parkour to rebound from him and kick another one. He's also stunned now, so I can rebound from him too. By combining parkour and combat, a skillful player can wreak havoc on both humans and the infected.
Run across 12 people, just jump,
without
kicking,
even
jump, kicking,
touching
jump,
the
kicking.
ground.
Well, that sounds amazing. So, Kacper, thank you for joining us, and thank you for explaining us how the game's parkour system works. And I believe you, the same as I, just can't wait for people to see it in action themselves.
Definitely.
So thank you once again. Take care.
Was that a one-handed weapon that he had?
So let's talk more about
see.
how you can use parkour not only for traversal, but also for combat. And speaking of combat, my next guest is Matt Courtois,
Someone who's not
lead
Polish,
technical gameplay animator. Matt, ça va?
Ça va, merci.
Thanks for joining us. I would like to start with something that was quite difficult for us, if you remember, at the very beginning of the project. How to present melee combat in first-person perspective.
Oh, I remember. You actually just said, creating satisfying melee combat from a first-person perspective that's a real challenge. That's why we spent many weeks iterating it, improving it, until we got the right feeling. We feel we have created something special, and we're very excited to discover how players will react to it.
So, what do you think will excite them the most?
I guess, we've worked very hard for our combat to be visceral. So we created many exciting and immersive elements, such as what we call progressive hit reactions. So it's basically consecutive hits on enemies will enhance their reactions. They will react differently based on the weapon category you're using, based on the body parts you're targeting. So you can stun them, you can trip them over, you can cut off their limbs, which might sound pretty terrible.
But it's also cool, right?
And it's also very useful and glory.
I love this set
the
so much.
direction of
It
your
looks so
swings
good.
also matters, and so does your position relative to theirs. We worked also with the professional stuntmen to record more special, more spectacular hit reactions.
Wait, that drop hit looks really good.
Mostly for parkour combat, but also generally speaking to highlight players' power and to convey as much satisfaction as possible.
And I think it's safe to say that immersion is very important in the world of Dying Light 2. It's post-apocalypse, so it's very brutal and very demanding.
Someone just said, what is
So
that
to
Chinese
survive,
guy
you
talking
really need to step up your game. So, I don't know, maybe you have some tips for the players, maybe you think there's something they should focus on?
My best advice would be to be creative in combat. So like you just mentioned with Casper, in Dying Light 2, parkour and combat are very connected. They're even intertwined, right? Allowing players to combine one with the other very easily, very smoothly. So technically, you can use the environment in combat, of course, as in kicking an enemy right after a wall run, or even you can use the enemy to get somewhere you like. So you would just vault over them, trigger a double jump to get higher, maybe somewhere you had
and he looked like he smashed with a one-handed
weapon. But if you want, you
weapon.
can also just land back down,
That looked like a bat rather
trigger
than like
a
a
very powerful attack. It's
double-handed
completely up to you.
actual
Your options
sledgehammer.
are almost endless. That's what we call creative combat. And to me, that would be the best weapon.
Okay, so that's an awesome hint, and thank you for that, and thank you for sharing all of the details, and thank you for joining us. We have used over 3,000 animations of jumps, grips, and other parkour moves to create a few dozen skills that can be mixed and combined, so every player can find her or his own way to survive in the city. In a minute, you will see that in our new gameplay trailer. But first,
Oh my god,
today
Techland
on
GG. Let's go.
techlandgg.com we have another gift for you.
Never heard of
For
it.
those who are already exploring the Dying Light universe in the first game, we have a unique item, the Brilliant Hammer, a weapon from Dying Light 2, which you can use in Dying Light 1. Go to techlandgg and grab it. And if you don't feel like fighting right now, you can get some free posters, wallpapers, or even Aiden's special outfit. As you can see, it's worth to visit techlandgg.com, but not at this very moment, because now it's time to watch our new gameplay trailer. Here it is.
Timon speaking to me.
Sometimes I wonder what this city looked like before all this. Probably like many others. People had their ambitions, plans, lives. Now it's all gone. The virus started it.
Just the same thing.
But it was the people who made the world the way it is. This city, Villador. They tell me they had a vision. They had hope.
It is.
Soon,
Is this the same
Yeah, it
trailer?
is.
It's the same trailer.
It looks exactly the same so far.
It's the same trailer. Oh shit.
instead of fighting together,
Yeah, it's exactly
people
it.
stood against each other. War broke out.
Was it a little bird? Met a broken leg?
Hope died.
Bro, this chat's gonna be pissed off.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hey, at least we can hear the kick-ass soundtrack again when it kicks in. Hold on.
We absorb their strength.
But I can't let that happen.
Oh, there we go.
At least, not yet. I need the secrets the city holds.
Dude, those beats are so good.
Hey! Still some rats here.
I have to pick a side.
The Bazaar needs good people.
Someone just said these guys are
doing
fully
great so far.
vaccinated. Oh my god.
I have to make a difference.
Let's check and see.
I can already tell you the Discord is gonna get really pissed off about this.
Someone in the Discord already said the trailer
They say
catfished
that
me.
great change is a series of small gestures. How about this series? Is all hope really gone? We'll see about that.
The trailer presented quite
Well,
a
let's not
few
just
new
talk about the
tools
new
of
gameplay trailer,
destruction
so-
that you will soon get to use in Dying Light 2. So now, let's talk with the people that are actually making them. Marek Musiał, lead 3D weapon artist.
Hi.
And Szymon Sztras,
Someone just said, is this the
producer
Last
the
of Us?
weapons team.
Okay.
Hello.
The first question, maybe to Marek, is Marek, can you explain how we as a team have approached the process of creating weapons of Dying Light 2?
Yes, we wanted the weapons to be credible. It's been a long time since the apocalypse and everything of value has already been looted. There aren't any stores to buy a new weapon, so you need to build your equipment from what you find. That's why we had to design dozens of unique weapons practically from scratch.
And actually, that was our design pillar, the modern Dark Ages.
Absolutely. Modern Dark Ages is this concept of fallen civilization that moved back people nearly to the Middle Ages. So there are no laws, no rules, no technologies. That's why our weapons, we try to create them in a most deadly and violent way.
And working with that concept, where did you get the inspirations from?
Well, citizens of Villador, they could only use stuff they found in the world. So we thought we should do exactly the same. We scavenge. So mostly we've been looking for our inspiration in stores selling agricultural, construction, military tools.
But also at places like junkyards.
Actually, that's true. So right now we've got nearly 200 of them in-game. And even though some of them may look very simple, we've got also quite the opposite, like, I don't
Wait,
know, semi-automatic crossbow.
I will love this one.
And our weapons are very diverse visually. Each one has a unique design and history. Just by looking at the weapon, you can tell where the maker found the parts. At a military base, a museum, a repair garage.
Exactly. It's exactly like that in the game. When you pick the weapon, you instantly realize if it was cobbled together in a street or maybe made by factions where they have access to welding and steel cutting equipment.
Yeah, and don't forget about the mods. Because in Dying Light 2 Stay Human world, if you want to beat your opponent with highly effective weapon, first of all, you need to find a basic version of that weapon and then slowly build it up. That's what we call modding. We've got many types of mods.
Oh, that
like
quote
defensive
out of
ones,
context is so
let's say
good.
improving quality of your handle, or
Right.
offensive ones like improving the
That's what
tip
we call
or the blade
modding.
itself. So I don't think that right now we would have time to talk in details about that.
can't
But
wait for the
in
memes.
December, you'll all be able to add an effect to your favorite weapons, such as fire, freeze, electricity.
Shimon, let's stop here. Let's leave something for the players to discover. So let's end here.
The
And
idea,
guys,
though, the
thank
concept's
you for
actually really
joining
good,
me.
though.
Before I talk with my last guest, I would like to invite you to participate in
what
our
now?
UGC
Oh,
contest.
the
Especially
art,
you,
writing,
Gamescom viewers, we are
cosplay, right?
waiting for your submissions. And if you are
Yeah,
thinking about competing in the
cosplay and
cosplay
art?
category, you will want to hear this one. Let me present to you the grand jury that will be choosing the best cosplays of the Dying Light 2 characters. Welcome, Irina Meyer, Lightning Cosplay, Narga and Aoki, and
Wouldn't it be better for them to
and of
participate
course,
rather than
fingers
judge?
crossed for you, our community. Let
I mean, I
the
guess
best
if you got
cosplay
ones in the
win.
industry know what they're doing,
Check
I guess
our
they're the best
website
kind of
for
judges you
more
would
details.
get, you know.
My last guests will explain how the city itself affects combat and movement. Michał Dudziak, game designer, hello, and Adam Michałowski, senior game programmer.
Hi, Timon.
Gentlemen, there's this saying that when you really want to achieve something, the whole world aligns to help you. And basically, that's what is happening in Dying Light 2 Stay Human.
Exactly. Based on the player choices, the world is literally changing and helping you to achieve your goals in combat or exploration. For example, the gameplay will be totally different depending on which factions you support, the survivors or the peacekeepers.
Okay, but can you give us more detail?
The differences between the factions define how each group can help us. For example, the survivors keep to the roofs and trying to avoid the danger on the ground. For building, they use mostly light materials like wood or scraps, and they can provide you a various amount of parkour helpers, such as amortizers, trampoline, or ziplines. This can change the way how we parkour through the city. On the other hand, we have peacekeepers, the post-military guys who literally keep their feet on the ground. And for building, they use totally different materials. Heavy objects, metal, or even an explosive.
That was a big platform.
And this can give you a new combat opportunities,
the switch like went through his
car
hand.
bombs, heavy traps.
Oh yeah,
or
no, I
even
see it
a new
now. Oh
type
my
of a
god.
ranged weapon.
Yeah, and what's important is that we don't need to remain loyal to just one faction.
So basically, survivors
The
is
city
all
is
about
divided into several
movement,
zones,
ease of
and it's-
movement, stuff
in
like
each
that.
of them, the players can decide with whom they want to
Peacekeepers
side.
is combat-based.
So while progressing through the
stuff.
storyline, you're able to shape the world to fit your vision and needs.
Okay, but we know already that humans are active during the day and monsters come out during the night. But let's reveal more. What are the other differences?
Well, monsters attack mostly in groups, and they instinctively take advantage of the numbers. So to defend yourself, you have to keep your head on a swivel. Monsters don't use special tactics, but it doesn't mean they are easy. They push forward, so you have to be clever to avoid getting cornered. And to win, you have to stay active, move a lot, and learn to abuse their unique weaknesses. And explosive traps might come in handy.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about humans?
They use increasingly more complex behaviors. As the game progresses, defeating human enemies and monsters will become more and more challenging. But unlike monsters, people cooperate. So while fighting them, we need to closely observe not only individuals,
I
but
love the
also
way
the whole
equipment
group.
looks in this game with the
And of
Molotov
course, there are
gun.
many more unique subtleties to both humans and monsters, but I think we should let the players discover them on their own.
Well, okay, that's a good idea. But all of that sounds very juicy.
Timon said juicy.
Let's end here. Guys, thank you for joining me. That's almost all for today. You learned a lot about parkour and combat in Dying Light 2. We showed you that parkour is not just a tool for exploration, but also an important element of combat. You discovered some of the weapons that you will soon get to wield, and you saw how choosing a faction may support your parkour and combat skills. Before we end this episode, we have one more special announcement for you. Dying Light 1 is coming to Nintendo Switch. So yes, it's official now. Soon, you will be able
Looks
to
like
play
the leak
the
was real.
ultimate open world zombie game on a new platform. And we know that a lot of you are playing Dying Light. In June alone, the game was played by close to 2 million gamers. Big thanks to our community. You're awesome. Dying Light 1 for Nintendo Switch will be released in Platinum Edition. This is the most content-packed edition we have ever released. On a single playthrough, it contains over 100 hours of gameplay, not mentioning the time you can spend exploring the world
really wanna
with
know
your
how
friends
that
in co-op
runs.
mode. More details are coming soon. If you are hungry for more and you want to support us, why don't you pre-order the game to explore it on your own in just a few months? That's all for today. Thank you, Gamescom, and see you in the next episodes of Dying to Know.
I guess that confirms that there's more. It's good to know that it doesn't just end with episode 3.